Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Ice Cream. So Vanilluxe has some relatively high stats overall, like they're not absolute trubbish, which is pretty surprising. But it is a 3-stage evolution Pokemon, so you'd expect it to be decent somewhere, and it's kind of moderate overall, but it doesn't really excel anywhere. So let's go and break down these stats. 95 on the attack. It's really interesting to have this because we're probably going to be more special with that 110 special attack, so maybe those stats are a bit wasted, but other than that, 71 on hit points with 85 on defense and 95 on special defense means as long as we're not seeing a super effective hit, we might have a good chance of surviving something, and then 79 speed. 79 speed isn't the greatest, unfortunately, that we're not really going to be able to make much happen there, but it is a boostable range, so overall we don't have any ridiculous stats that we can really take advantage of, but across the board they're just above average for most Pokemon, so it's going to be really nice to see. Look at its typing. Of course the Ice Cream Pokemon's going to be a pure Ice typing. Why wouldn't it be? So it's going to be not that great defensively, a lot of weaknesses, and only one resistance. The pure Ice typing is actually really frail, kind of like glass, like ice. That'll happen. So weakness to fighting, rock, steel, and fire. So we need to watch out for a lot of that. And then it only resists itself. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown, there's only one way I care to use Vanilluxe personally, and that's Sheer Cold with Choice Scarf. I don't really see any other reason to use it any other way, because I mean, we have a decent Choice Scarf Pokemon that when going into that Timid Nature, we're actually going to get a very high amount of outspeeds, and we also have a decent amount of bulk if we go into full hit point investment. So full hit points means that our defense and special defense going to be pretty nice with all those hit points, and then we just use Sheer Cold until we go down, and we might find some success on it, and if we get 1 for 1, excellent. If we get 2 for 1, and it doesn't really matter anymore. With this hit point investment, as long as we're not seeing any of those super effective hits, you know, we come into a Pokemon that's not going to do a ton of damage, a tankier Pokemon, we don't have to worry about how much damage we're doing to that tank if Sheer Cold lands. So it is pretty likely we'll be able to survive for 2 or 3 turns, and then that just plays into the odds of Sheer Cold. If we're on odds, you know, we might see a 1 for 1. If we're really lucky, we could see a 2 for 1. And if we're just absurdly lucky, you know, we're outspeeding the Pokemon. If we outspeed, score KO, we're still safe. So if we miss, we take damage, we miss, we take damage, we can still find it because we're outspeeding so much. And that's the beauty of the Scarf Sheer Cold. And then we have Raw Offensive Vanilluxe. Now it is going to be those special attacks. We generally see a higher base power on special attacks, and Vanilluxe has a better special move pool. Again, the attack kind of not making too much sense. So that's why we go into Pokemon DB to see which Pokemon we're going to hit and how hard we're going to hit them. So we're going to have Ice and Steel kind of as our core, just Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, and hope it does really well. Now it is going to give us a good amount of super effective and neutral hits, but then Fire types and Water types, these Pokemon just run over us, and it is going to be kind of difficult to deal with. So if we have Freeze Dry, we're going to be able to hit the Water type Pokemon super effective. So for example, like pretty much these Pokemon are going to get hit by that Freeze Dry really hard, but if we also have the Water Pulse, then that means we have the option to get rid of those Fire type Pokemon that we see scattered about right here as well. Now, there are ways to play around this. You know, we could just have Pokemon that do really well against Fire types and Water types, and then Vanilluxe can just kind of come in and do whatever with an Ice Beam from time to time, but that doesn't really do much for Vanilluxe. That with this 110 special attack, we're going to need that Modest Nature with that Life Orb, or else we're not going to have too much damage. Now, when it comes to Vanilluxe in a sweeping scenario, it gets really interesting. We have the weak armor, so we actually want to take damage, that way we can get that boost. On a physical hit, we're going to have our defense lowered, but our speed raised. As we mentioned before, we're going to be able to survive physical hits, so against a non-overwhelmingly super effective dealing physical attacker, Vanilluxe can come in, have that weak armor proc, and now we gain an effective Choice Scarf, and we can convert to a KO off of that. So we take damage, deal damage, now we're faster, now we deal damage, and that's a good chance to KO. Problem is, 2 Life Orb procs is going to put us in a pretty dangerous range. However, we need the Life Orb. 110 special attack on its own without hitting super effective isn't going to do much. And as you saw right there, we don't have crazy super effective coverage against a lot of Pokemon. Now, we can deal with Fairy types and some other Pokemon that are weak against Ice, but any Ice type can do that, so Vanilluxe doesn't really shine too much right there. Now, say if we are running Scarf or we're going for that weak armor on the Vanilluxe, also our speed really hurts us as well. That we only get to outspeed 125 base speed Pokemon. That's pretty good, but you know, we still find those 130s and those 135s, and they're going to be able to outspeed us even after a weak armor, even if we are Choice Scarf. So that is something to pay attention to. However, with our 110 special attack, we need that Modest Nature because the Life Orb damage, you know, that's where we find those neutral 2-hit KOs to work with. So that is kind of the problem we have to deal with Vanilluxe. Now, if we are just more focused on maybe getting that Mirror Coat proc or going into super effective hits only, then we can run the Timid. Timid into super effective with that Life Orb is going to be good enough, but then we're still in a pretty weird situation. Now, I will recommend the Mirror Coat on Vanilluxe. If you want to go all out attacking, you sure can. That's where they're putting like a hidden power or some kind of other coverage move right here. But with the Mirror Coat, it just means that, alright, physical attackers, they're going to make me faster, so I can use that to my advantage. Special attackers, I'm just going to take the hit, use Mirror Coat, and then KO them back. That since we aren't a super tanky Pokemon, a solid neutral hit is going to do about half our health, if not a little bit more. So then we just Mirror Coat all that damage back, and that's going to be a high chance of KOing. So that's either we're playing to the weak armor for that synergy, or we're just going to KO off of Mirror Coat. Now that's kind of all that there is to Vanilluxe. That you have to worry about the speed and play around it a bit and kind of have that identity of super effective hits or the hardest hit possible. Now that's all there is to Vanilluxe really though, because you just have to go for those super effective hits or you play for the higher damage and then you just play around the weak armor or whatnot. That's really it. If we go and look at Vanilluxe, it doesn't have a lot of things. I can scroll past it really quick. And that maybe if you want to use it in doubles, you can Icy Wind into Sheer Cold for a combo. But it doesn't really have too much else. That Atomize and Iron Defense, we don't have much tankiness stat boosting on our side, so that's not going to be too insane. So really, it's just going to be playing to our coverage. We have Ice, so Stab Ice is always nice in a lot of different metagames. But we're not going to be able to branch on it too much, and for some reason, we just get the Steel type coverage as well. But that's not a bad thing at all. So if you guys enjoyed this video, that's how you use Ice Cream, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching.